Hello and welcome to Clearview Television News. We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. In the news, Nigerian youth move to fashion new initiatives to tackle growing unemployment among them. Total merchandise trade in Nigeria and other African countries hit $997 billion last year. United States set to commence deportation of undocumented migrants. I am Rose Audu with the details of these and more. Nigeria has been elected chairman of the government group of the International Labour Organization (ILO) for 2019 to 2020. With this, the country would share governments of 187 member nations of the ILO. The Nigerian ambassador and permanent representative to Nigerian mission, the United Nations office in Geneva, Switzerland, Audu Kadiri, is to represent Nigeria. The election took place on Friday in Geneva during the 108th session of the International Labour Conference. Apart from the government group, there is the employers group and the workers group. The role of the chairmanship of the government group is to put up strategic plans and coordinate all government members of the ILO during the tenure. The government group is made up of all the regional groups of the ILO, which includes the African Regional Labour Administration Center. No fewer than 18 persons have been killed by suspected gunmen in some communities in the Safe local government area of Zamfara State. The Emir of Safe, Alhaji Muhammad Bawa, disclosed this in Gusau on Friday while receiving the member representing Gusau, Safe Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Kabir May Palace, who paid him a condolence visit over the attacks. The Emir, who thanked the lawmaker for the visit and his concern, said the attackers invaded Bamau, Dammali and Sako communities on Thursday evening and killed 18 persons. He added that they came with over 50 motorcycles and shot aimlessly in the air. May Palace, who donated cash and 20 mattresses to the victims in the hospital and held closed-door meeting with the divisional police officer of Safi, and had earlier visited the general hospital to sympathize with the victims who are receiving treatment. The lawmaker urged the people of the state to remain calm and continue to seek Allah's intervention to end the problem. Commissioner of Police Zamfara State Command Usman Nagogo has identified amicable resolution as one of the viable ways to address the present security challenges confronting the state. He made the submission during a meeting with Civilian Joint Task Force and vigilantes in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital. Our correspondent, Aniete Patrick, has more.
The Zamfara State government and the security agencies have continued to find lasting solutions to the lingering and escalating insecurity in the state. This informed the meeting between the Commissioner of Police, Civilian Joint Task Force and JTF vigilantes to discuss ways of addressing the menace of banditry, kidnapping and cattle rustling in the state. The Commissioner of Police, Usman Nagogo, appealed to citizens of the state to avoid taking the law into their hands as efforts are being made by security agencies to resolve the problem amicably. The security advisor to Zamfara State Governor Abubakar Dauran assured people that the state government is working round the clock to bring an end to prevailing security situation.
That's the issue that we want to tackle, and that's what the Commissioner of Police wanted to do. That's why it's all of them to come and at least obey the law and order, so that at least the Preston will be a peaceful place.
Secretary of the Civilian Joint Task Force JTF, Sani Labaran, however, lamented lack of prompt response of security agents whenever incidents of attacks are being reported.
Especially this case, we need security to take action, serious action against this bandit, because they're always stealing our property, kidnapping our people, killing our people here and there.
The Civilian Joint Task Force and vigilantes have expressed their readiness to cooperate with security agencies towards achieving lasting solution in the state. Annie T. Patrick, reporting for Clearview Television.
The Force Commander of Operation Hadarin Deji in Zamfara, Major General Jide Ogunlade, says several villages displaced by bandit activities in the state are now returning home. General Ogunlade confirmed this while discussing areas of cooperation with journalists at the First Command headquarters in Gusau. He said the development followed efforts of security agencies being intensified against the bandits throughout the state of the Force Commander stated that troops have now successfully disorganized the bandits who can no longer stay comfortably in their hideouts because they know the troops can locate and strike them at any moment. General Ogunlade said although there exist over 300 bandit camps in the bushes, the army is doing its best to neutralize them, and even when they try to get to any of the neighboring states, they will find it difficult to evade the security. He said this is why they now devised a method of using their informants to divert troops' attention through distress calls while the bandits go to the opposite direction to lay siege on innocent people. The commandant, who expressed readiness to work with all forms of volunteer security services, however, warned that if such partnership was abused and those volunteers crossed their bonds, they would be dealt with. He appealed to journalists in the state to cooperate with the operation by disseminating credible and verified information so that they could succeed. The chairman of the State Council of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Abdul Razak Kaura, assured the commandant of the cooperation of newsmen as far as the theater maintains free flow of information. The state NUJ chairman criticized the way the air components of the operation issued reports from the Air Force headquarters and urged the force commander to find ways of releasing reports emanating from the state to journalists, adding that the expected publicity would be achieved. A youth group, Young Africa Leaders Initiative, says that this year's summit of the group will be focused on initiating solutions to a myriad of problems facing Nigerian youth. As correspondent Busola Waruna tells us, the two-day summit, which kicks off in Abuja on Monday, June 24, is another attempt by youth to tackle growing unemployment among them.
It is observed that most youths are faced with one challenge or the other, which could be a catalyst to the development and growth of a country. Records from United Nations Economic Commission also proves that Africa has the largest youth age group across the world. These youths are being affected by various factors, not limited to unemployment, lack of skills, lack of quality education, quality healthcare, among many others. The Young Africa Leaders Initiative, known as YALI, is taking a step higher to address issues facing Nigerian youths in 21st century. It hopes to achieve this through a summit which aims at encouraging inclusive governance for youth development and public partnership in helping youth tackle challenges they are faced with.
Across the nation, our hubs have been carrying out activities aimed at not just suicide and depression, but mental health as a whole. While it seems as if we have more and more cases of suicide, we also have to admit that we also contributors. So it's about how the press reports this. So if you're going to announce that this person used sniper, for the person that is on the verge, you're giving him an idea. Okay, so sniper this person, I should go and do that. So that will cause suicide cluster. You focus on the cause of death, and the way you report it gives those who are on that verge ideas.
I trust that we would have more groomed youths that would want to participate in government policy that would contribute to the development of their societies. And since we are bringing in delegates from across the 36 states and then FCT as well, I believe that they would be able to get the tools, the information to make the necessary changes in their society.
This year's summit, scheduled to hold on Monday, June 24th to Tuesday, June 25th, is tagged Paradigm Shift, Youth Inclusion in Government Policies for Sustainable Development. Young African leaders across different states in Nigeria where yearly hubs are instituted are expected to profile initiatives that will strengthen the role of government in resourcefully providing the needs of youths. Busola Owuru, reporting for Clearview Television.
The Nigeria Institute of Food Science and Technology commended President Muhammadu Buhari on the passage of the Nigerian Council of Food Science and Technology Bill by the National Assembly after many years of delay. The commendation was contained in a communique at the end of a two-day Region Food Summit and NIFST Day celebration organized by the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, FCT chapter, with the theme, Promoting Food Safety in Nigeria by the Control of Mycotoxins in the Food Supply Chain. Clearview TV's Magdalene Michael was there and now reports.
President of NIFEST Oluwole Toye called for the presidential assent to the Nigerian Council of Food Science and Technology Bill, which he said will enhance product acceptability in international markets and a safer state.
The Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology commends, appreciates our President and Commander-in-Chief, President Muhammadu Buhari, for the passage of the Nigerian Council of Food Science and Technology Bill by the National Assembly after many years of delay. This bill was a presidential bill. It was sent to the National Assembly by our President, and we rejoice with him as participants in the eventual receipt of this bill, because when this bill, when signed into law, it will regulate the training and practice of the profession of food science and technology in Nigeria.
Among other recommendations made by the President is the need to enhance acceptability of foods in the international markets, which will also lead to producing foods that are nutritious, wholesome, and safe for local consumption.
A national system for prevention and removal of moldy and diseased grain crops with commercial mechanized drying and blanching systems will significantly reduce aflatoxin and other mycotoxins consumed in Nigeria. Inclusion of food safety in school curriculum, especially at post-primary levels, will help to reduce consumption at the domestic level.
Presenting a paper on policy development for promoting food safety in Nigeria, challenges and prospects, Dr. John Tishe spoke on the need for a food safer laws in Nigeria.
Now, this bill also streamlines the functions and powers of institutions that are responsible for controlling and managing food safety. So unlike before, where our functions and mandates overlap, this new bill has streamlined. It covers from farm to table. Every part of the food supply chain is covered in a single stream.
The summit drew participants from the academia, private and public sector, representative of the National Assembly, amongst others. Magdalene Michael reporting for Clearview Television.
You're watching Clearview Television News. The news will continue shortly after this timeout.
The Healthcare Plus program in Kogi State was initiated by Governor Yahaya Bello to reduce neonatal and maternal deaths by offering free medical services and commodities to pregnant women from conception through delivery. The program has kicked off and is witnessing immense success as women now take to antenatal care. There have been unique stories from center to center, and we will share in weekly episodes a few of the most unique cases. Welcome to Healthcare Plus Baby of the Week.
She was referred from Primary Health Center, Jegubeki, to General Hospital, Kotonkapri. Immediately she came, we received her warmly. And as a midwife, I checked her and know that the presentation is abnormal. So immediately I sent for a doctor, and doctor came immediately.
Actually, our patient is from Jegu, under Healthcare Plus. She was rushed here. It's a brief presentation of baby in a term. So we went for scan, and it was complete breach. It's already in labor, so she was taken to theater. Thank God the outcome was wonderful. A live baby boy went almost 3.8. Today, the mother and the baby is alive, sound and healthy, happy. Baby was sick. He said, "I've been sick for me. Only picking, land and way. Once he told you me, mo gba ko bo lọ́wọ́ mi. Èmi àti ọmọ mi a sì wà. Kò sí problem. Wọ́n attend mi gidigidi. Wọ́n ṣe mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ wọn o. Ọlọ́run ó ràn wọ́n lọ́wọ́ o. Nurse àti doctor, Ọlọ́run ràn wọ́n lọ́wọ́ o. Ọlọ́run ó dúró tì wọ́n o. Kò ní padà lẹ́yìn wọn o. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Yaya Bello. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ o. Ọlọ́run ó máa gbé lókè o. Wájú ní wọn lọ. Kò ní lu ẹ̀yìn mọ́ o. Ó ṣe mo dúpẹ́ o. In fact, we don't know how to appreciate the government and what they are doing. The Healthcare Plus is actually helping the people of this environment by saying, may God give him the strength to continue this wonderful work.
We thank Yaya Bello for this program. And we pray for Yaya Bello to continue with this program till the end of his tenure. And we pray for Yaya Bello to come back for the second time so that he can continue his good job. Thank you.
And that's it on this episode of Healthcare Plus Baby of the Week. Keep a date with us for another exciting episode.
Welcome back. The Nigerian Bar Association on Friday bemoaned the pervasive insecurity of lives and property in the land and what it describes as a systematic erosion of the independence of the judiciary. The association said judges and lawyers had been so intimidated and blackmailed by the federal government that they nursed the fear of being visited with inquisitorial terror should they rule against government or take briefs considered to be anti-government. The NBA president, Paul Usoro, said this in a speech he delivered and unanimously adopted by the National Executive Committee of the association at its meeting held on Thursday. Usoro said the level of insecurity in the country and the attack on the independence of the judiciary and the legal profession constituted a threat to the rule of law and by extension the country's democracy. He said without the rule of law and security of lives and property, society gradually descends into a state of anarchy and democracy becomes a mere pretension. Democracy itself cannot survive without the rule of law. Usoro insisted that the twin elements, rule of law and security of lives and property, are what drive society and the economy. He lamented that several investment opportunities have been lost by Nigeria because of these twin pervasive challenges and that the climate of fear instilled by the federal government undermined the independence of the judiciary and the ability of the judges to act confidently without fear or favor in dispensing justice. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has refuted claims that its Director of Information and Communication Technology, Chidi Nwafo, has resigned. The Commission made the clarification on Saturday in a notice on its official Twitter handle. It described the rumor as false, urging members of the public to disregard it, adding that the director and another staff have just returned from South Africa, where they represented INEC at the high-level 5th annual meeting of ID for Africa movement in Johannesburg, held from June 18 to June 20. The Commission made it clear that neither Nwafo nor any senior staff has resigned his appointment or indicated such intention since the 2019 general elections. The Reformed Niger Delta Avengers, RNDA, a splinter group of the non-operational Niger Delta Avengers, NDA, and a coalition of 9 other militant groups in the Niger Delta region, has called for the direct payment of the 13% derivation fund to the Niger Delta communities rather than state governors. The group, which accused the governors of mismanaging the funds, have called on President Muhammadu Buhari to initiate a mechanism that would see the federal government paying the funds to host communities of oil-producing areas. The militants also demanded quick release of the gas flare penalty funds to the affected oil-producing communities in the Creek of Niger Delta through the leadership of host communities of Nigeria HostCom, led by Dr. Mike Emu. Leader of the group, who calls himself Major General John Mark Ezonebi, alias Obama, conveyed the group's demand this Saturday after a crucial meeting of the coalition commanders at Benin River, Delta states, accusing the governors of corruption and not managing the derivation funds well. The militants said, and we quote, "We want the money removed from them because they failed woefully to utilize the money, which amounted to trillions of naira, to develop the oil communities in the creeks of Niger Delta by the relevant section and act of the Constitution that established 13% derivation. RNDA is advocating payment of the funds to the oil-producing communities in the various states that produce crude oil to be managed by the host communities of Nigeria HostCom." End of quote. The militant leader, who commended President Buhari for signing the State Houses of Assembly and State Judiciary Autonomous Bills into law, said RNDA is the only militant group in the region that endorsed his re-election because it was convinced of his sterling qualities and urged him to do more for the region in the next 4 years. You're still watching Clearview Television News. The news will continue shortly after this break. Stay with us.
Force through the dogged efforts of the Inspector General of Police, IG Mohammed A. Adamu, in a bid to combat the high rate of criminality and criminal elements. Kidnappers, domestic offenders, violence, cultism, rape, robbery, amongst so many others, has launched the Police VGS mobile app. The Police VGS mobile app is a web-based dispatch system for quick emergency reporting of incidents by citizens, for the prompt response by the Nigerian police and other emergency and security agencies. Within 5 seconds of reporting, the appropriate government security or emergency agencies will be alerted and help will be deployed immediately. If you find yourself in a situation where your life or the life of another is threatened, such as kidnap, rape, robbery, road accidents, fire incidents, medical emergencies, natural disasters, or any attempt on your life or the life of a fellow Nigerian, all you need to do is to silently swipe the Police VGS app on your mobile phone. Policemen will be alerted immediately and help will be sent your way promptly. This is particularly handy in case of kidnap on the highway, roadside, one chance, or case of robbery or any communal unrest whatsoever. All a victim needs to do is just to swipe the app on a phone, either as a victim or an observer. Policemen will be alerted immediately and help will be deployed for appropriate intervention. Apart from reporting emergencies, the app also has a unique features such as Escort Me. Once this app is activated, the police force and other security agencies will receive the coordinates of the dispatcher of the distress. Either on the highway or within the city, a user can also report incidents, the eyewitness feature on the app. The mobile app is available for all Nigerians on the iOS and the Google Play Store platforms
Android or iOS phone became Police VGS Mobile Reporter. As soon as a subscription to the Police VGS app is made, the Nigerian police will be on hand to attend to incident reporters in a matter of seconds. Swipe to safety. Terms and conditions apply. Always remember, the police is your friend. This message is brought to you courtesy of the Office of the Force PRO.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer, MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. Nigeria and the rest of Africa's total merchandise trade in 2018 have been estimated to be $997.9 billion, retaining its #1 position as the fastest growing regions in the world. The chief economist of African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, Dr. Hippolyte Fofak, says this is contained in the African Trade Report 2019, inaugurated on the sideline of the ongoing Afreximbank annual meeting in Moscow, the Russian capital. The World Trade Organization estimates reviewed that the volume of global merchandise trade grew by 3% in 2018, down from 4.6% in 2017. Fofak said Africa's output grew by 3.4% between 2017 and 2018, in spite of the slowdown in global growth during the period. He noted that the findings highlight the resilience of Africa's economies to global volatility at a time of rising uncertainty, escalating trade wars, and tariffs between the United States, China, and others. The resilience reflects the diversification of Africa's trading partners in the context of South-South trade, growing phased investment and public and private consumption, boosted by expanding urban populations and softening inflation. Fofak explained that the European Union remained Africa's main continental trading partner in 2018, accounting for 29.8% of total trade. He said African trade with the South grew significantly over the last decade to account for more than 35% of the continent's total trade in 2018. He said China and India further consolidated their position as Africa's first and second single largest trading partners, accounting for over 21% of total African trade in 2018. According to him, intra-African trade rose to 16% in 2018 from 5% in 1980. It remained low compared to intra-regional trade in Europe and Asia. He then urged African governments to further capitalize on the opportunities associated with digitization, which he said can unlock Africa's potential in driving economic development and the integration of African countries into the world economy. More than 100 speakers, including government ministers, central bank governors, international trade organizations, export credit agencies, business leaders, African and global trade development experts, and academics are participating at this year's Afreximbank annual meeting. The theme of the meeting is harnessing emerging partnership in an era of rising protectionism. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has told French investors that Nigeria is open for business and is inviting them to take advantage of the enabling environment in the country to do business. Osinbajo gave the assurance during a dinner cocktail organized in Abuja by the Nigerian Embassy in France as part of activities for the ongoing 3-day Nigeria-France Business and Investment Forum. He told already existing French companies and the French business delegates who were on a fact-finding mission that the government was committed to ensuring that their businesses thrive in the country. He assured the investors that the Nigerian government would assist them to work through any of the difficulties that they may encounter as quickly as possible. The Vice President commended the Nigerian ambassador to France, Modupe Irele, for putting up the thoughtful event, saying that it would help boost and diversify Nigeria's economy. He appreciated Guillaume de Cadron, the Deputy Held Mission Embassy of France in Nigeria, who he described as a gem in smoothing the relationship between France and Nigeria. Also, Yewande Sadiku, Executive Secretary, Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission, said that in line with the forum's theme, From Talk to Action, NIPC hoped more French investors would key into opportunities in Nigeria. Sadiku said that the NIPC hoped that in 1 or 2 years from now, it would see tangible evidences from all the discussions at the forum to demonstrate that things had truly moved from talk to action. Governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, has again called for the legalization of cannabis cultivation in Nigeria to tap from its potential impact on economic growth. Akeredolu, who spoke while playing host to the acting Assistant Comptroller General of the Nigerian Prison Service, Benson Oluwayopese, in Akure, said the plant had both its health and economic benefits, which could only be harnessed if it was cultivated. He also explained that when the oil of cannabis is extracted, it could be used to cure many chronic illnesses, stressing that the country stands to gain a lot from the potential of the plant. According to Akeredolu, there is a need for more research on the medicinal use of cannabis for the benefit of mankind and improvement of the country's economy. He said Nigeria stands to gain billions of dollars like other countries from the proposed legal and controlled cultivation of cannabis. In May 2019, Governor Akeredolu traveled to Thailand to study the medicinal use of cannabis as part of the measures to diversify the state's economy. Responding, Oluwayopese said he was in Ondo on a tour of how to grow commercial cannabis. According to him, Ondo State has chosen for the study tour because of its novel and innovative intention towards legalized and controlled cannabis cultivation for medicinal and economic benefits. The President boss noted that Canada, Uruguay, America, and many other countries had already legalized cannabis cultivation for medicinal purposes and economic benefits. He stressed that if the cultivation of cannabis was legalized at the national level, it would help in improving the economy. You're watching Clearview Television News. The news will continue shortly after this timeout.
Amama agbadufo onekele konobule maneke koma alukmagba bai alukmako ichiwa igala omikuna kai shomame kukojane igala de edomi shebo kugojile uchomame igala nakina gowa oji television kide meba ekidere ma bino
látòrí ìdárayá ní orí ọ̀dọ̀ látòrí ọ̀dọ̀ olóṣèlú títí dé orí ọmọ lọ́balọ́ba àti ìjòyè ya wọn. ẹ̀kọ́ àti àṣà àti ìṣẹ̀ra ètò ẹ̀jáyé ìgbọ́ra ó ti rá láti jẹ́ àmọ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ní ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ní agbègbè ra àti àyíkára nílẹ̀ ọkùn ẹ̀ agbọ́ra ẹ̀ àwòrà níbi ẹ̀tíyàwó ra ètò ẹ̀jáyé ìgbọ́ra àti muhari gbogbo níbẹ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ̀ àwòrà lórí rẹ̀. ẹ̀jẹ̀ sọmọkọ́ ọmọ sọmọ.
Uni ahoime, bauni enwome, ati sojete, bauni iresu amohi, baki epezwe, ati ameme worokame, da shekura novede, ibiraba beva sezo unini, isamuhi, oneri odovide kura ame, oneri saza, esi kameeni, avabani voneva sevore, diaka, iresu ibiraba be TV, oneva sevo vidaune, duzile sokoko, eturonone, ibiraba be, yavabe, inyo ishehun, dia novede.
Welcome back. As we take you to the foreign segment, first we bring you focus on Liberia. Stay with us.
Liberia is the first republic in Africa, which began as a settlement of the American Colonization Society, otherwise called INEC'S, who believed black people would face better chances for freedom and prosperity in Africa than in the United States. The history of the Republic of Liberia dates back to the era of the Pepper Coast, also known as the Grain Coast, which has been inhabited by indigenous peoples of Africa at least as far back as the 12th century. Mende-speaking people expanded westward from the Sudan, forcing many smaller ethnic groups southward toward the Atlantic Ocean. The Dey, Bassa, Kru, Gola, and Kisi were some of the earliest documented people in the area. The American Colonization Society, however, was founded in 1816 in Washington, D.C. for this purpose by a group of prominent politicians and slaveholders, but its membership grew to include mostly people who supported the abolition of slave trade. Slaveholders wanted to get free people of color out of the South, where they were thought to threaten the stability of the slave societies. Some abolitionists collaborated on the relocation of free blacks, as they were discouraged by racial discrimination against them in the North and believed they would never be accepted in the larger society. In 1822, the American Colonization Society began sending black volunteers to the Pepper Coast to establish a colony for freed blacks. By 1867, the ACS and related chapters had assisted in the migration of more than 13,000 blacks to Liberia. The ACS, the private organization supported by prominent American politicians such as Abraham Lincoln, Harry Clay, and James Monroe, believed repatriation of free African Americans was preferable to widespread emancipation of slaves. Similar state-based organizations established colonies in Mississippi in Africa and Republic of Maryland, which were later annexed by Liberia. On July 26, 1847, the settlers issued a Declaration of Independence and promulgated a constitution. Based on the political principles denoted in the United States Constitution, it established the Independent Republic of Liberia. In the late 20th century, political instability took its toll in Liberia. On April 12, 1980, when a military coup led by Master Sergeant Samuel Doe of the Kran ethnic group overthrew and killed President William R. Tolbert Jr. Doe, and other plotters later executed the majority of Tolbert's cabinet and other Americo-Liberian government officials and true-wing party members. Liberia has a rich history in textile arts and quilting, as the settlers brought with them their sewing and quilting skills. Liberia hosted national fairs in 1857 and 1858 in which prizes were awarded for various needle arts. One of the most well-known Liberian quilters was Martha Ann Weeks, who presented a quilt featuring the famed Liberian coffee tree to Queen Victoria in 1892. When President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf moved into the executive mansion, she reportedly had a Liberian-made quilt installed in her presidential office. A rich literary tradition has existed in Liberia for over a century. Edward Wilmot's Bleeding by T. Moore, Roland T. Dempster, and Wilton G.S. Sankulo are among Liberia's more prominent authors. Moore's novella Murder in the Cassava Patch is considered Liberia's most celebrated novel. Liberian cuisine heavily incorporates rice, the country's staple food. Other ingredients include cassava, fish, bananas, citrus fruits, plantains, coconuts, okra, and sweet potatoes. Heavy stews spiced with habanero and scotch bonnet chilies are popular and eaten with fufu.
And from Liberia, let's now take you to Mali, where we hear that thousands of people have taken to the streets in Mali's capital to demand an end to attacks in the center of the country, where there has been an increase in ethnic violence. Police said 3,000 attended the rally on Friday in Bamako, while organizers put the number of the demonstrators at least 5,000. Ethnic tensions in central Mali have surged since an armed group led by preacher Amadou Kalfa emerged in 2015. The group recruits mainly from among the Fulani, primarily cattle breeders and traders, and it has clashed with the Dogon and Bambara, traditionally sedentary farmers, who have formed their own self-defense militias. Friday's demonstration was organized by a youth association demanding the disarming of militia and for people to say no to hate, whatever their ethnicity. One of the demonstrators, Habitato Tialo, said too much blood has been spilled and it has to stop, or there will be no life left in the center of Mali. There has been a swath of mass killings in recent months, according to the United Nations mission in Mali, MINUSMA. At least 488 Fulani civilians died in attacks carried out in the central regions of Mopti and Segol between January 1, 2018 and May 16, 2019. In the same period, armed Fulanis had caused 63 deaths among civilians in the Mopti region. President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, who rejects the idea of an inter-ethnic conflict, on Thursday named the former interim president Diokonda Taro as High Representative for the region to report back to him. The Red Cross, meanwhile, said on Friday that some 2,800 people fleeing the violence had taken refuge in the town of Bandiagara in the east of Mopti region, where aid including utensils and bedding had been distributed. And in United States, immigration authorities plan to launch a sweeping effort to deport recently arrived undocumented families from Sunday, June 23. A report on Friday citing 3 unnamed U.S. officials said the operation is expected to target up to 2,000 families facing deportation orders in as many as 10 U.S. cities, including Houston, Chicago, Miami, and Los Angeles. According to the report, a spokesman for the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement declined to comment, saying due to law enforcement sensitivities and the safety and security of U.S. immigration and customs enforcement personnel, the agency will not offer specific details related to enforcement operations before the conclusion of those actions. The acting director of ICE, Mark Morgan, told reporters earlier this week that the agency would target for deportation families that have received a removal order from a U.S. immigration court. Morgan said ICE wanted to deport undocumented families who had recently arrived in the United States to discourage more Central Americans from arriving. Trump had tweeted on Tuesday, before the formal kickoff of his 2020 re-election campaign, that ICE would begin removing the millions of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the country's top Democrat, responded, saying the president's new threat of a mass deportation dragnet is an act of utter malice and bigotry, designed solely to inject fear in our communities. Britain's Middle East Minister Andrew Morrison will visit Iran on Sunday for frank and constructive talks. The Foreign Office said in a statement that at this time of increased regional tensions and at a crucial period for the future of the nuclear deal, this visit is an opportunity for further open, frank and constructive engagement with the government of Iran. The statement said Morrison will call for urgent de-escalation in the region and raise concerns about Iran's regional conduct and its threat to cease complying with the nuclear deal to which the UK remains fully committed. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet has called on Venezuela to release jailed dissidents. She said on Friday that Venezuela faces a serious humanitarian situation Her comments came at the end of a 3-day visit to the country at the invitation of embattled President Nicolas Maduro, who has faced allegations of cracking down on political opponents amid rampant hyperinflation and shortages of basic goods. Bachelet, referring to the hundreds of Maduro government opponents who are currently jailed, called on the authorities to release all those who are detained or deprived of their liberty for exercising their civil rights in a peaceful manner. The UN rights chief met relatives of the detainees, many of whom are accused of conspiracy to overthrow the government. She also spoke with relatives of people who died during the anti-Maduro protests of 2017. Rights groups had pushed Bachelet to raise the issue of 715 people they say have been jailed for political reasons, a claim Maduro's government rejects. A ferry plane crash on the north shore of the U.S. Hawaiian island of Oahu has left 9 people dead while on a skydiving trip. Emergency officials said there were no survivors when the plane went down on Friday night near the perimeter of Daligan airfield, quite away from the runway. The Honolulu Fire Chief Manuel Neves said when emergency officials arrived, they saw the plane fully engulfed in fire and that the force crews on the scene extinguished the fire. He lamented that some family members of those on board were at the airport waiting for the plane to return when the crash occurred. Neves told reporters at the scene, about an hour's drive north of Honolulu, that in his 40 years as a firefighter in Hawaii, this is the most tragic aircraft incident ever recorded. Neves said many details were still not known about the flight, but he said witnesses had said the plane was landing at the airport when the crash occurred, but that he had not been confirmed. Crews with Honolulu Emergency Services said they assisted with death pronouncements of the 9 after receiving the call at 6:26 p.m. local time. Authorities in Hawaii are investigating the cause of the crash. You are still watching Clearview Television News. The news will continue shortly after this timeout.
There it is. What a shot from Tiger. And the Jamaican juggernaut scores his first goal for a professional side. And
And on the sports scene segment, Samuel Kalu was rushed to hospital today after he collapsed during the Super Eagles training in Alexandria. Officials said the Bordeaux Wenger apparently suffered from dehydration caused by the heat in Egypt at this time of the year. NFF spokesman Ademola Olajire said Samuel Kalu has been stabilized and that he was taken to hospital for tests and he has been certified okay. The temperatures hover between 35 and 38 degrees, and this has forced CAF to agree to water breaks during matches at the AFCON in Egypt. Several other Eagles players have been laid low by flu. Coach General complained during an official press briefing. Egypt got their 2019 Africa Cup of Nations campaign off to a winning start, although their opening game victory over Zimbabwe wasn't as convincing as many might have expected. Javier Aguirre's side were strong favorites in front of their own supporters in Cairo, and having won 3 of the 4 AFCONs they have hosted previously, the Pharaohs are once again expected to challenge this summer. Celebrations held ahead of the opening football match of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations Group A match between Egypt and Zimbabwe at the Cairo International Stadium in Cairo, Egypt on June 21, 2019. Egypt took a grip of things early on, but failed to make their pressure count. Mahmoud recycled a right-footed strike into a far corner of the net in the 30-minute sealed victory for Pharaoh. Uganda defeated the Republic of Congo 2-0 in Group A of the African Cup of Nations. They went ahead in the first half after 14 minutes when Patrick Adu struck. Uganda doubled their lead when Emmanuel Okil scored 3 minutes into the second half to seal victory. The game was relatively evenly fought as the Republic of Congo had 11 shots to Uganda's 13, but 5 of Uganda's were on target. There are 2 remaining games for Congo to make up ground after today's upset. And that is it for the news, but before we go, a recap of our top stories. A group of Nigerian youth Young Africa Leaders Initiative is holding a 2-day summit which begins on Monday in Abuja to fashion new initiatives aimed at tackling growing unemployment amongst them. The chief economist of Afrexim Bank, Hippolyte Folak, says total merchandise trade in Nigeria and other African countries in 2018 hit $997 billion. United States immigration authorities are set to commence deportation of undocumented migrants under a sweeping operation expected to begin within the next few hours. That's the news. Remember that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, via Clearview TV. Like us on Facebook via Clearview Television. Follow us on Twitter at Clearview Online. Follow us on Instagram at Clearview TV_NG. You can also watch Clearview TV on Nigecomsat with any free-to-air decoder. For details, contact your local installer. I am Rose Audu. Many thanks for watching.